Hi everybody and welcome to broadcast 12. Today's broadcast will be longer than usual. I'm talking to Stacey about her journey in L'Arche and she's been here a long time, so I want to be sure that she gets the time to tell her story. We won't have a chance to do any of the shout outs or responses to messages, but I'm sure you will enjoy what's ahead. As the government guidelines have changed, I'm sure you're all thinking about what this means for you. And whilst I'm happy that some of the rules have been lifted, we still need to be very cautious as we do have a number of vulnerable people in the community. We are still asking families not to come to the houses or flats, but we do want you to start seeing your relatives and friends if you want to. So please discuss this with the manager of the service and we'll look at how best to do this. At the weekend, our Lily was able to travel up and stay with us overnight. It was the first time in 12 weeks that I've seen her in person. It was very emotional but lovely. We had a takeaway from our local Turkish restaurant, which we were able to eat outside because the weather was so nice, and she will come up again in a couple of weeks for her birthday. We're now going to look at some of the clips of the activities that were happening last week, and then we will go on to Stacey's journey, so enjoy!
So we're going to move along with round one. Round one is famous people. Okay. So guess. Can you guess what celebrity lives in this house?
Bonjour.
Clearly they do. Okay. Popeye, here we come to you.
Five.
Five. Lovely. We're here to kisses. Hello, kisses. How many did we get? then for joint first, we have the A team and the Hula Girls. Bravo. Lovely victory down there. Hula Girls. 89. Tomorrow, we want to see some victory dance.
get one more shot at this. I think they're still that one now because this one looks like
Hi, Sam.
I'm dead. Wait, Jeffrey! Jeffrey, they're saying bye! Bye, wait!
I thought it'd be quite nice because we'd had your induction last week and I know it was lovely, but it was all very formal.
Yeah.
And I just thought it'd be quite nice for us to sit down with a cuppa now and just talk a little bit about, when we kind of first met and where we've come from. Because that's almost 7 years now since I've been here. And I just think what is uncanny is the similarities in both of us.
Yeah.
And yet, there's so much difference in our age. But
It's mad.
being born on the same day, same birthday.
Yeah.
Only, 25 years later when
Yeah,
you
and
were
I'd
born.
never met anyone with the same birthday
Yeah,
as me, and then you come along,
Yeah.
and then we find out that we're from the same area.
Yeah.
We've got,
And then what about the same school?
yeah, same
even?
school, and Lily and Daisy,
I know.
and it's
Oh
just
my
like,
God, yeah.
we're twins.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I've got to say, it has been really lovely working with you, and I just feel a little bit, like your mum in a way, because
Yeah.
you're the daughter that, you kind
could
of my
have
daughter.
had,
You're very similar
yeah.
to our Lily,
Yeah.
really, Only I think she's just had a different obviously had a different background to you.
And at first I was very cautious about you, wasn't I,
I know you
Carol?
were, I
Kept my
know.
cards very close to my chest,
Yeah, but
sussing you
what?
out.
I think that's worked for both
I
of
mean,
us.
to be honest, that's me all over.
Yeah.
I have to get to know somebody first before I let them in.
Yeah.
But that's,
And it
that's how I
has, think
work.
it's worked really well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But you just go back so far, don't you, with Larsh? Because were you like a child in Larsh, or
Yeah.
or because your mum?
So my last journey started around 1991. I was 9 at the time,
my
so
God.
yeah, I was a child of Larsh. And how I remember Larsh is my mum worked in the workshop.
Yeah.
So she worked with Paul Smith.
Oh.
She worked with Ying Chung and Dawn Taylor.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Paul Sarge gave me some photographs of me mum. And she's there with a ciggy in her mouth supporting Dawn Taylor. And it's like, that just wouldn't happen now. And if I saw her, I'd be telling her that was inappropriate. But back in the day, it wasn't. They were all smoking and all drinks and cups of tea. And I think it's just very different times. But I knew that my mum loved Larsh and that it was important to her. And it was important to me because I felt like it was just somewhere that I could be myself. Everyone was really friendly and everyone was just chilled. And I think it helped me with having our Jonathan with his autism. It helped me realise that there was places that John could go to when he was older.
Oh, right. So I bet that was really nice for you then, because I guess it's difficult when you've got a brother or sister with a learning disability and thinking about, what's it going to be like for
particularly in the
them.
90s, because only the Community Care Act had only just come in place, and he got his diagnosis when he was 4, and we were very lucky for that, really. And it was because we lived in Liverpool and Alder Hay that they were there was a professor there and he was doing the diagnosis. But Johnny was very profoundly autistic. He was non-verbal, sensory overload, very classic autistic trace. And I suppose in the 90s it wasn't really well known. But I'm glad that he's in my life because he shaped me to the person that I am today. And so when I came to L'Arche when I was a kid, I didn't know any different. So I just walked in and I was like, oh, there's loads of people having a good time, and it just felt relaxed and comfortable. I didn't see any difference, which was great.
So was your mum, did she stay in the
No,
Arch
she got another job in local solutions for a while, because she was at home with our John quite a bit because he was a bit of a handful, and sometimes he'd be in school and then the school placement wouldn't work out, so she was back and forth into different jobs. But then as he got older and he became a teenager, he became more challenging and he needed his own space, and I think me and my mum needed ours, so she made the decision for him to go to residential school when he was in his teenage years. And to be honest, it was one of the best decisions that we could have made because he just grew and developed and gained independence and understood what it was to be without his family, because he was always beside us for everything, and you know that's not healthy. He needed to start planning for his future as well. So once John was settled, my mum decided to go back to work, and that was around 99, 2000, and that's when she started to work with Max.
Oh, right, so she came back then to like residential. So she'd always had a good relationship with Max, and I've always known Max since a young age because she's always come to ours for a tea, and we just had a connection. Same with Ian Watkinson. Ian Watkinson used to come to our house for his dinner, and I was always fascinated with Ian because I felt a connection, because I suppose I knew our Jonathan would be like him as he got older. So it was good to have them relationships. Around 99, 2000, so I was about 17 around that time. Hated the world, wanted to... Typical
teenager. I left school at 16. I'd done well, I got all my GCSEs, but I thought I knew everything. I thought I wanted to be an adult, so I got a job. I worked in a horse riding shop called Robinson's in Haydock, and I loved it. It was brilliant. But soon realised that it's not all what it's cracked up to be, being an adult, having to pay bills,
and didn't you go live with your dad for a bit as well?
I think I'd had enough of living with Jonathan and living with my mum, and you're at that age where you question everything. I think 16's a really hard, 17's a really hard age for someone. So I went to the extreme, partying, just having a good time, and realised that the party has to end sometime. So spoke with my mum and went back to live at home, and realised that I had to get an education. So I went to Roby College and completed my A-levels.
College,
so I did history, geography and English literature. I don't know why I chose them, but I did. I've always had an interest in the built environment. I like architecture, but I knew I wasn't clever enough to be an architect. So I chose to do town planning. Don't ask me why. It's good money. So while I was in university, my mum was still working with Max, and there was vacancies, and within L'Arche we have a role called a relief assistant, where you can work like bank staff as and when needed. So she said, why don't you try and be an assistant and, you know, spend time in L'Arche, you know the guys, you'd enjoy spending time with them, so why don't you? And I never really thought of it, to be honest. I thought I'd had enough of disability with having our John in my life. I thought maybe I needed to do something different, because when you live it day in, day out, it can be hard. So I thought, well, why not? And at the time, Anne-Marie was the assistant coordinator, so I had a chat with Anne-Marie, and she explained what the job would be and had like a little interview. So I thought, well, why not? What have I got to lose? Yeah, so I first started on Max's team. Yeah, within 2 weeks, I knew that this was the job for me. You just get that feeling. It just felt natural. Max can be challenging at times, and she knows that. But with me, we had good times. It was about listening to Max and understanding what she was trying to say. Even though Max has verbal communication, she doesn't express herself in the way that she needs to.
I know that you have got such a good friendship with Max, and it is very emotional, you know, because your friendship story that came out. But I remember when I first started, and I think, and it's kind of quite emotional for both of us, because, you know, it's difficult at times, and I think that you are such an ambassador for Max, that she's so lucky to have you as a friend, and you've remained like that throughout the 7 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
So well done, Max, I would say.
Definitely.
For keeping you, bringing you to Large,
Yeah.
really. It might have been your mum, but it was Max who kept you here.
Yeah,
So,
and
good on
you know,
Max.
there was tricky times. There was lots of comings and goings with assistants, because particularly lone working, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
So it takes persistence, it takes commitment, it takes challenge as well. And I quickly got to understand that sometimes decisions weren't necessarily made in Max's best interest.
Yeah.
And that really wound me up, if I'm honest. Yeah, so I suppose...
Probably made you more determined then to stay and to manage and...
Yeah, it did. So for a while, I supported Max.
But you were still relief.
I was still relief. So 2003 was a big year for Large Liverpool. We had the refurbishment of the Arc, and that was fun. So the Arc shut down, and we were split into separate locations. So because it was over the summer, I was asked if I'd be a summer assistant, and I said yeah, because I needed to pay me overdraft as a student. And I thought, well, why not? Let's try something different. So I was allocated to the weaving room at the time, and I was working with Paul Smith, I was working with Jackie Brown, Ian was a very good weaver, and Tommy as well. And I thought, why have they sent me to this room? I haven't got a clue. Don't know what to do.
Did you ever learn how to weave?
I learned how to set up, and that's one of the hardest things. But it took me probably the whole summer to learn that, if I'm honest. But Jackie Brown taught me. She's the best teacher, to be fair. And yeah, I learned so much skill of just being with people, of listening, of having banter with people, and the relationship. And it was really nice to see the relationships with people, because I'd only been lone working with Max. It was nice to have, I suppose, work with a team, also work with others. So
It's seeing a different side of Large as well.
So as an assistant in Large over the summer, I didn't really have much time off, because I'd be in the Arc during the week, I'd support Max in the weekend, but also we'd have like people going on summer holidays and things. So I supported Max to go on holiday that year, and we went to Yorkshire and the Lake District, and we went with Bobby Taylor and Mark Cowan, and it was like a group of us that went, and it was just such a funny holiday, doing different activities, and they're all very strong personalities, but they all actually got on really well, apart from Bobby, who always wanted to do his own thing, but that's Bobby. Yeah, so when we were on holiday in the Lake District, we went to a place called the YMCA where they did like adventure activities. So you can imagine me and Max doing adventure activities. But to be honest, she loved it. It was Bobby who was having none of it. So I ended up spending time with Bob. And don't know how it happened, but we ended up being on a speedboat on Lake Windermere, just driving around, me and Bobby with someone driving the speedboat, giving, you know, obviously he's seen us sitting on the side and said, so he's loving it. He's like that with a ciggy in his car, like that. And I'm like that, oh God, what's he got me doing? So that's how, I suppose that's how my relationship started with Bobby. I just thought, you're a complete character, you're so funny. So that was how I kind of got thrown into Larsh. And then the beginning of 2004, there was a vacancy in the Coracle. I don't know what happened. I think it was around the time Ying Chung passed away, and they needed an assistant to go across. So I started working in the Coracle, and I spent a lot of time with Ian, which was great because he's my mate. And I got to go to the pub with Ian, go to the Asda and make lemon chicken. So building my relationship up with him. And it's a different skill set with Ian. It's about being present and being still. So he taught me to just be, where I like to be busy. With Max, you're constantly on the go, and in the workshop it's the same. But with Ian, I had to be present, and he taught me a different skill set.
Yeah, so you certainly do have to be present with Ian. So I guess you had sort of learnt a lot then. And so that was, you were working in the Coracle then, Yeah.
So I had to finish work because of my mum. My mum died of cancer. So it was a difficult time, So I had to make a decision. It was the hardest time of my life, if I'm honest. And I had to leave Larsh, and that was sad. But I had to support my brother, because at the time he was ready to leave school, and I didn't know what to do. I knew that I didn't want him to go into residential, because that's not what both of us wanted. But I knew that I needed support to make sure that John was okay. So at that time I didn't have much information about options of support. But I had a wonderful social worker, and they said, well, what about the options of direct payments? So I was like, right, okay, so what's direct payments? So they explained what it was, and spoke with my family and said, look, this is an option that John can still live at home with me with support. What do you think? And amazingly, my family said yeah, and we would like to support him. So that was great that I had an option with us still being able to be together, but me not being his carer, because I didn't want that. I'm his sister, and for me, I don't want to replace me mum. I'm not his mum, I'm his sister, and I need to have a life, but he needs to have a life as well. So it probably took about 18 months to get it up and running, and everyone understanding their roles, John transitioning from coming out of residential to being at home full time, and that was a challenge. It taught me a lot of skills. It taught me the art of negotiation, which I need today in my role, because some of the meetings that we had, people are trying to fob us off, saying, oh, well, it costs a lot of money, direct payments, and, you know, maybe you'd be better off with a service provider. And I think if I didn't have my knowledge of being in Larsh, I wouldn't have been able to argue the fight for our Jonathan. But then at the same time, if I never had them meetings I had for our Jonathan, I wouldn't be able to negotiate packages that we've got today for the people that we support and launch today. So even though it was a really difficult time for me, it was a real lesson, and I still carry that with me today.
I think all that sadness in your life obviously has brought you great experiences as well, and it's kind of set you up for the future, hasn't it? And you really wouldn't be the person you are today without it all.
And I think losing my mum, I've got that empathy with people within our community, because a lot of our core members haven't got their parents. And I think particularly my relationship with David, he just says it that he misses his mum, and I get it. And I can say it to David and he gets it. So that mutual relationship is really true with me and David. We don't even have to say anything, we just have to look at each other and we know. So yeah, I suppose that sad time has set me up for who I am today, and has shaped me. So it's a life lesson that I wouldn't want anyone to go through, but it's made me who I am today, and I'm thankful for that.
So then you moved on from that. You never move on from the sadness of it, obviously, but you know, you got John sorted out, and then what was next for you?
So I was missing Larsh, because you do. It's in your blood.
It certainly is.
Even when you try and go away, somehow it gets you. It gets you back.
You back.
So I wasn't ready to come back to work, because I was still spending a lot of time training people up with John, making sure he was safe and everything was going okay. So I started volunteering back in the workshop, working in the barrow, because they were doing the back garden then. So I was mainly shoveling soil, putting it in a wheelbarrow and then putting it on the beds. And I was doing that for about 3 or 4 months. So it's like, if it wasn't soil, it was sand. If it wasn't sand, it was something else. But I was doing it with Anthony Lynch, Ian, Max, a guy called Michael who was there at the time, and it was good fun, and it was physical exercise.
Probably what you needed after everything you'd been through, just putting a lot of kind of physical effort into something. So you're volunteering now, aren't you, in the workshop?
So because me and Max are friends, she's always still continued to come to our house for supper and spend Christmas as well with us. There was lots of changes within a staff team, and they were looking for a house leader for Max's team. So I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I may as well apply. You know, I've already been a part of the team, I know I've got life experience of support, so why don't I try for it? So luckily enough, I was accepted and got offered the role as house leader. So that was in 2006. I really enjoyed that role. But it was lone working, it was a small team. Where Max lived at the time, Somerset Place, it wasn't a safe place to be, so cars would get vandalised. The kids would taunt Max.
So she lived in a flat on her own there?
With support.
Okay, right. Yeah. So Max lived on her own then?
Yeah.
Was that that was in town, near town, wasn't it?
It's the other side of Newsham Park, so she wasn't connected to a house.
So how was it? Were you still part of the large community then?
We were, but it was very different. So one example would be, we didn't have house night every week. We had it once a month or even every quarter, it depended. Team meetings, they weren't every week, they were once a month. And we had to come in our own time back then as well.
Right.
So it was different, but to me it wasn't. It was lush.
Yeah.
We were part of a community supporting and enabling Max to be as independent as she could be. But it wasn't working for Max as well. Max needed that sense of belonging, that sense of community, because that's what fundamentally we all need. And I think she felt isolated. So I needed to speak up for Max to say that, you know, her accommodation wasn't working for her and that we needed to look for something else. But it wasn't just Max within the community that felt that way.
Yeah.
So Linda Smith was always saying, I want my own flat. I want my own flat.
Yeah.
And she'd go to Paul Ducey at the time, who was the community leader, and say, I want my own flat.
Yeah.
So this is where Fountain Court came about.
Okay, yeah.
So it was always in the plans for Fountain Court to happen.
Yeah.
It just took a very long time to get there.
Yeah.
So I applied to be Fountain Court's house leader in 2007.
Yeah.
I got the job, but I didn't start the job until June 2009.
No.
Yeah, that's how long it took.
Typical large.
That's how long it took.
Yeah. But then we were building.
Yes,
It wasn't we were building a
and
new
it's because
place,
it's housing
weren't we?
association and everything else. So it, you know, it was on the cards. It was just when it happened.
Yeah.
But in 2009, that's when I fell pregnant with Daisy.
Oh, right.
So when we come,
great timing.
Not great timing. No, surprised us all.
Yeah.
So when we were due to open Fountain Court in June 2009, I was halfway through my pregnancy.
Right.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to be there then, really,
No.
to see it through?
No.
Because you were going to be off on maternity leave?
Yeah. So I was there to get everybody in.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
it was Max,
Yeah.
Bobby Taylor,
Yeah.
and Linda Smith.
Yeah.
So they were the first group to be in Fountain Court.
Yeah.
And we had living assistants as well.
Yeah, that's
so we
right,
had flat 7, which was a living assistant flat, and then like a sleeping room.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved
So
opening
so
Fountain
you were
Court.
still
house
leader
leader.
then?
Yeah. So I went off in September.
Right.
To have Daisy in the November.
Yeah.
But then I came back.
And when you came back, where did you go?
I was back in Fountain
Okay,
Court.
yeah.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed being a
Yeah.
house leader.
But you weren't a house leader when I came.
No, I was.
So, right, okay,
yeah.
so leave you to it.
Okay,
Sorry,
it's all right.
jumping ahead.
It's okay. So, yeah, when I came back, things were working, but they weren't working as usual. So we have to review and evaluate, and why wasn't it working? And I think the community was coming through times of change as well. So in 2012, we had a restructure, and the house leader's role no longer existed. And that was a really hard time, particularly for our house leader group, because most of us had been there 5 years or more. And it's hard to say you're in a job one day and then you're not, and it's not a job, it's a vocation. It was a really difficult time for us all. And so the restructure was, there was roles of the localities, because this is where the changes were happening for the houses. So it was the right decision that we were closing down the big houses and moving to a different support
Because I think
model.
Liberty Council really
Yeah.
had something to say about
Yeah.
that, didn't they? Because I was
Yeah.
working in Liverpool then, and I was aware that they didn't like the big shared
Yeah.
houses and wanted
And
to
I
move to
absolutely
better accommodation
agreed
for
with
people.
that.
Yeah.
So that's how the harbour came about.
Yeah.
But the restructure was a little bit mad, because the restructure just literally happened a month before the move should have happened. So
Right.
I was offered the role of locality manager for the harbour, and I'd never worked with any of the guys. So it was the Anchorage guys
Yeah.
and the Well. So within the space of a month, I had to get to know people, so I focused on the well because Paula was there to help me with the transition of the anchorage.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
It was a bit
So what
chaotic.
was you a locality
Yeah,
manager?
so that was when I became a locality manager. So we had vacancies within the harbour, and that's where we welcomed Maria, Sue and Roz.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd done work externally of welcoming new core members to the community, and it was a real eye-opener, if I'm honest, looking at the accommodation that they lived in previously. And I think you just instantly know when you meet someone that that's the right place for them within coming into Larsh. So that transition. And also I was the first person to meet Jane Murray, which was lovely, and her mum had just died and her family were looking for accommodation. And her story really touched me, obviously.
Of course it would, yeah.
So it was great that we could welcome Jane. And what was lovely about Jane's story was that her faith and that she had connections to St Sebastian's, and it just felt like a natural fit. And she also supported the children in St Sebastian's school. She was like a helper one day a week. So it was like, this is meant to be for Jane. She needs to come and join our community. So it had its challenges in terms of the team. We still had living assistants then, and it was about getting the right balance for everyone, but also shifting cultures from shared house settings to separate teams, but being under one builder and living Larsh differently. And
I think that was really good for me, because what year are we on now? About 2011 or 12? Because I came at the end of 13, and I think having you was really good for me, because you'd been in Larsh a long time, but you were up for living Larsh differently. And for me, not being a part of Larsh at all and not knowing it, it was important that we didn't lose the values and the ethos that made us Larsh. So I was coming in from, obviously, you know, the local authority where I'd come from. So I knew all about learning disability and commissioning. But I needed to have somebody who could kind of keep me on track about Larsh, because it was a culture shock for me coming here, you know, obviously. And it was great then that you were able to sort of be very positive about the new kind of accommodation, but also making sure that we kept community and what was important about community.
I just felt it was wrong when there was people that we supported and they couldn't access all of their house.
Yeah, and I think that's what Liverpool City Council were saying at the time, weren't they? But when I came, so when did you were a service manager when I came, but sort of not
so
fully?
I'd only just started. So the job came available around 2012 December time. So I applied for the role, and I was really glad that I got the job, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. I felt if I had that role, I had an opportunity to challenge culture and also shape our community to the direction that it needed to go, in terms of actively listening to core members, but also having accessible accommodation and, I suppose, making things future-proof for people. It felt like we were stuck for a while, and now we had an opportunity to do things differently. And I think as well we had a lot more inspection work, so like the local authority quality assurance work, it happens a lot more. And for me it was about, we do need to question our quality and have a consistent approach across our localities. So the role kind of sung to me in that way, because I do believe in continuous improvement, and I do believe that we should provide a quality service but still be a community. So it felt a natural fit for me to apply for that role.
I think it was a natural fit because your values come through in everything that you do, and I think they were made pretty much from when you were a little girl, weren't they? You know, and it's all about what is best for the people with learning disabilities who can't speak up for themselves, and there you are with your banner, you know, speaking up for them, really. So I guess that the changes that were happening in the city for people with learning disabilities, which were at the time being slightly forced on Larsh, you were a part of really welcoming that because you knew that things had to change, and I guess you knew that you had the right values and you wouldn't let that go. So
I think because of the experience of opening up Fountain Court, and there was a little bit of a backlash of that it's not Larsh, it's not the same model. And for me it was like, well, come and see us, we're living it, we're still having meals together, we're still having house night, it's just done in a different way. And actually I'm listening to what the core members want, so if they don't want a house night, that's absolutely fine. So for me it was like, I suppose that fight was always within me, but I didn't want it to be a fight, I just wanted people to accept the difference.
And I think that we've come through hard times, certainly from when I first started here, but it hasn't been a huge fight, it's just been a hard slog to get where we are.
So from 2013 we've been literally opening new localities and services, and for a while that's kind of what I felt my role was, because when Ian was having difficulty in the coracle, I had to make quick decisions about, well, it's about the environment, it's not working for him, he's telling me something and I need to listen. So that's how Ian was in Tabor, and it worked for him, but it was a stick and plaster, it wasn't a long-term solution. So when we got the opportunity for St John's, of course we were going to jump at it, and I'm glad we did because it works so well for Ian and for Herbert that I'm glad that we've made them decisions.
So then Ian is in St John's, still in St John's now, isn't he? So that really works for him, So,
there was a lot of changes, so within core members changing accommodation, so 2013 is when Silk opened, and welcoming Betty and Sam, that was a challenge as well. That was on the spur of the moment, about a week's notice, not even a week's notice, I think.
3 of them, wasn't there?
And Tina, so that was fun, but joining the team did well with that. And then Peter Kuhn, and going to see Peter in the nursing home again, that really stuck with me. And now I look at Peter today and I think, you know, the difference as life is and has, it's great. So like from 2013 right up to St Sebastian's, there was always a service that we've welcomed or opened. So
was it pretty stable for many, many years where we didn't welcome too many new people? And then really, because from when I've been, from 2013, we've just welcomed so many new people, haven't we?
And it's been great. And what I like about it now is that we've got such a diverse group as well. So looking at South Liverpool to Sue being so independent, and Colebrook Road, the support is totally different to Silk, for example, and the diversity, I embrace that, and I think, well, great. That's truly what a community is and what it should be. I also like the fact we've got different housing stock, where we have got clusters of shared housing but independent flats as well. I think that's really important, that you have different housing models.
I love our models of support. I think that they're great, and they are, you know, they just meet the needs of the people who live there, don't they?
And communities lived in different ways. There's no set pattern within a locality, and that's how it should be. And I love the fact that the locality managers truly embrace their responsibility and that they are truly their own managers and we're there to enable and support. I think that's how it should be. Because you get the best out of people in that way. Yeah.
So when did it change for you again then? After all, you know, so you've kind of welcomed all those people in.
So on a personal level, 2013 was a crazy year for me as well, because that was the year I met Mark and I got a stepson. Well, I don't have a stepson, I have a son. There's no step in our family. And yeah, it was the next stage of my life. I got married in 2016. Bought a house the same time as you because we're twins. And got married. So yeah, this is how I am now. I'm comfortable within my own skin. I'm settled within my family life. And my last journey is still progressing. Even though I've been in the same role as service manager for 7 years, my job constantly changes.
Might have the same title. But
yeah, just the same title, but don't know what I'm doing one day to the next. But that's what I like about it. I think that's what gives me energy. It's definitely what makes me stay in the community and stay in Larsh. But it's also right because the community is evolving and changing. So I think structures and roles should go with that. And I think if I didn't have them opportunities, I would become stuck and I wouldn't be, I suppose, as creative as I can be. So that's what makes me stay. It's what makes me grow and develop, and that's what I like about Larsh. You get opportunities, and it's not necessarily just about providing care, it's more than that. It's about me as a person. It's about going on a journey with others, and that's what I like.
Yeah. It is. It kind of becomes a part of your life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really does, and I don't know why that is, but it does it to all of us. You know, because when I came, I was only going to stay for a year, wasn't I? I was just going to get us through that tender, and then I was going, you know, and now I'm going to see it out until my retirement. And I guess I've seen the same for you, you know, where you've had your wobble, you were going to go, but you didn't go, and you're still here, and that was the same with me. Oh, I'm going to go, but you don't. And
I think it's because I suppose the fight's the wrong word. I suppose the message is still there, and it just changes. So for now, it's around like social injustice for me, and it's about, well, how can we be a sign to the wider community of our service provision and us as a community. I think we can take stock and reevaluate what we're doing, but I think we need to go beyond that, and it's about us challenging society and being visible. And I think that's where my next challenge is, about helping people be their own advocate, where have people got a voice, and how can we enable that to happen?
I think that being a part of Larsh, I think it gives us the opportunity to be that in the world of learning disability, to be the leader, to be excellent in what we do, because we are so good.
Yeah, and I think around mutuality, that we walk alongside people. You know, we genuinely don't do things for, we do things with people, and I think sometimes that can get lost. But life's busy, and I get that, but fundamentally that's what we're all here to do, and it works both ways. Core members are here for us and to guide us as well, and I think that's what makes us different, and I think we need to celebrate that.
So from the age of 9 right the way through, so 30 years, you're still here.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be here, be a part of Larsh be part of your life?
I don't know where life's going to take me, but I've got no plans of being anywhere else. I know that my role will change, as it always does, and I'm okay with that. Well, to be honest, I like that. But what I do know is that my journey's not finished. I've got plenty more to give and plenty more to do. Yeah. So I suppose upon reflection of my journey, there's been many people that have helped me. Lots of people in Lash. From Chris Rice, who helped me with Max at the very beginning, Paul Sarge, who's been there consistently, Chris Burke, who, you know, has never left and will never leave, all the core members, working alongside the house leaders as well. There was lots of experience. Paula was one of my role models when I first started. And Marie. Moving along, there's been challenging times and challenging conversations with people, and that's helped me grow and develop, and I'm thankful for that. I'm really pleased with the management team that we've got now. Yourself, Carol, and Joy, you're helping me grow and develop each day and pushing me to do things like this that I would never do. And yeah, everyone's got their place in the journey, and what I love about Lash is how diverse we are, and there's people in our community that I would never meet if I wasn't part of Lash. And I think when I went to India in 2008, I think that made me realise that. So I'm thankful for that.
Right, Stacey. This has just been very, very emotional.
Oh,
So, should we think about
emotional.
something nice?
Yeah, go on
What are you
then.
doing this weekend? I'm sure you're not going anywhere. It's going to be like,
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
God.
Stacey, well done. Oh my God.
So never ask me to do that again.
So, have you realised yet that this broadcast is pre-recorded? If you hadn't, then I'm sure that you have now, because if the camera had gone straight to me following Stacey's journey, then I would have been crying. Her journey has been so emotional and very moving. Well done, and thank you, Stacey, for sharing this with us. I'm virtually at the National Council this week. We should have been in Crewe, but instead we're doing all of our sessions by Zoom, so for 3 days I'm working from home. So that's all from me this week, and I'll finish with a quote from Nelson Mandela. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived, it is the difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. Stay safe and well.